From an 8-second knockout to his insane title fight against Usman, these are Leon Edwards' career moments that shocked fans. Leon's career started off slowly. He lost his first fight in the UFC by split decision. But when fight number 2 rolled around, no one could have guessed that it would result in one of the most shocking moments in Leon's career. Edwards faced Seth Baczynski, and the fight lasted a mind-blowing 8 seconds. A picture-perfect straight left sent Baczynski flying into the canvas. Insane! That was the 6th fastest knockout in UFC history. I think it's safe to say that Leon didn't take much damage in that fight. From that point on, it looked like Leon was on a run, headed straight for the top. That was until he met the man who would change his career forever, Kamaru Usman. Leon and Kamaru fought for the first time back in 2015. Both were promising fighters, showing a lot of skill early on in their careers. Leon's camp would later explain that they focused too much on defense in this fight, looking for ways to avoid losing. But that's not enough in this game. You also need to know how to win. Usman led the fight, outstriking Edwards, but of course, Leon's defense was on point. The fight went 3 rounds, and for the first time ever in Usman's MMA career, he won the fight by unanimous decision. The results sent each fighter on very different journeys, but as we know, way down the line, they were destined to meet again. Of his first 4 fights in the UFC, Leon lost 2. And things weren't looking pretty for Edwards, because a record like that can actually be enough for a fighter to be dropped from the UFC roster. Not only that, but outside the octagon, Leon's a very calm and reserved man. He isn't an outrageous trash talker or some social media superstar. He's just a normal guy who likes his job. In recent years, we've seen how the UFC favors the louder, more dramatic characters, and the welterweight division certainly has its share of those, with big characters like Covington and Masvidal. This all made things extra hard for someone like Leon, with a bad record and a quiet personality. But Edwards was too good to be ignored. He fought Albert Tumenov next, and everybody expected the Russian striker to come out on top. But Leon's game was only getting better and better. After a very impressive fight, Leon pulled off his first submission victory in the UFC, with a crazy rear naked choke in the 3rd round. Edwards just kept winning, although the UFC seemed very hesitant to give him any big names. But that was about to change with his next big fight against Peter Sobotta. Peter decided to represent Jamaica in their fight, saying that he did it because he went there on holiday once and enjoyed the reggae music. Edwards, who was actually born in Jamaica, thought that was stupid. But at least he managed to teach him a lesson in the octagon. Edwards gave Sobotta a bloody beating until the very end of the 3rd round, with the ref calling a TKO for Edwards right on the buzzer. After his dominant victory, Leon finally got a big name when he faced UFC veteran Donald "Cowboy" Cerrone. Edwards easily won the fight, gaining attention and earning another big bout against Gunnar Nelson. This was a big night in Leon's career. The main event featured Jorge Masvidal and Darren Till. Till was an interesting character. Both Till and Leon are English, and they had impressive records in the UFC early on. But that's where the similarities end, as the two fighters have radically different personalities. Darren chose to hop on the McGregor train and become loud and cocky, as a way to rocket his way into big fights. Meanwhile, Edwards was quietly grinding his way to the top. The pair met in the press conference, and Leon explained that he thought he deserved to be the main event, fighting Till or Masvidal. And to be fair, he had a point. But Leon was in for a hard night. Despite the fact that he was fighting in England, the crowd cheered for Nelson, who's from Iceland, but was much better liked than Edwards. Can you imagine being booed by your home crowd? Man, that must have been rough for Leon. But they don't call him Rocky for nothing. That crowd was in for a big shock when Leon dominated Nelson in every aspect of the game and earned his 7th consecutive victory. Till lost badly to Masvidal later that night, so Leon called out Jorge after the fight. And man, Masvidal is one crazy dude. He lost it so bad he actually ran over and punched Leon twice in the face before he could react. Leon even had a big cut on his face after that. It was disgusting behavior from Masvidal, but Leon took it with patience. And around that time, Leon certainly needed a lot of patience. He was on a 7-fight winning streak, but even Colby Covington said he didn't know who Leon was. Colby said,
Honestly, I haven't watched any of his fights. I didn't even know he existed. I mean, I know they call him Edward Scissorhands because he likes to poke people in fights and he hasn't won a legitimate fight. So,
but there was no going back. Leon had been very impressive against Nelson, and the situation with Till and Masvidal had finally given him some publicity. So Leon was heading towards the big names. Leon fought Rafael dos Anjos in July 2019, and Edwards' striking was amazing in this fight, using every tool in the book from huge kicks to lightning-fast elbows. Dos Anjos just wasn't ready for how good Leon had become, and it looked like the UFC had finally recognized it. Leon got an even bigger name this time, Tyron Woodley. Woodley's a legend of the welterweight division, and he had just lost the title to Usman. So this fight was a huge opportunity for Leon to get a title shot. To make things even better, the fight would happen in London's O2 Arena, so Edwards would have another shot at winning over his home crowd. But sadly, as we all know, nothing went as planned in the year 2020. Leon's big fight was canceled due to COVID. Fighting in the US continued, but Edwards was stuck at home in Birmingham, not allowed to travel or even train. Dana White offered him a shot in Fight Island, his COVID solution for foreign fighters, but Edwards had to turn it down because he hadn't been able to train. As a result, Leon was removed from the rankings, but he kept his head held high, and 2 years after his fight against Dos Anjos, he was back in the octagon. This time, he faced the extremely exciting young fighter, Belal Muhammad. But could Leon still do it after such a long time out of action? Well, it definitely looked like it. But once again, luck got in the way. Leon's always had a problem when it comes to poking his opponent's eyes. This happens to a lot of fighters who have the habit of touching their opponent's faces to measure distance. But this time, it got him in serious trouble, as the fight was stopped and ruled a no contest. A lot of fans were pretty disappointed with Leon, because that was a stupid way to waste a big fight. Luckily, Edwards was soon in the octagon again, and his opponent was none other than the legendary bad boy, Nate Diaz. By now, things had changed, and when Leon faced a big name, he was the favorite. And he proved why. Edwards defeated Diaz by unanimous decision. This was exactly what Leon needed. Finally, he had his title shot, and it was against the last man who defeated him 7 long years earlier. Kamaru Usman. Leon was a huge underdog going into the fight, and it didn't help when Kamaru destroyed him in the second, third, and fourth rounds. The fight was lost for Leon, and only a miracle could save him. But hey, he had earned a miracle, and he was about to get it. In the last minute of the fight, Leon pulled off a perfect kick straight to Kamaru's head, knocking him out cold. It was without a doubt one of the greatest knockouts in UFC history, and definitely the most shocking moment in Leon's career. I don't know about you, but I can't wait until these two giants meet again. So there you have it, fight fans. From an 8-second knockout to his insane title fight against Usman. Those were Leon Edwards' career moments that shocked fans.